Hi everyone, so you guys have been watching me doing intermittent fast throughout 2020, and the reason for the fast is not just to lose weight or improve my health, but to improve how I interact with food. I have gotten into serious trouble in my life because I would get prepared to eat or get a craving, and then I would go for the food, and then something would come in between me and my food. And I just sat down to jot down some times when this has happened, and I came up with quite an impressive list, and I thought I would share it all in one video. I know I keep bringing one up here and one up there, and it'd be nice to have it all in one place, and for my own reference when I do get crazy thoughts again. The very first one I could think of was when I was 18 years old. I used to live in a suburb of Pittsburgh called Murraysville, and I would walk from my parents' home to a grocery store about, I would say, a little bit less than a mile away. And I would get my favorite foods there, and then I would head into town and maybe just go to the park. And one day I got to the grocery store, got my favorite foods as usual, but I forgot my wallet. And I used to have this bad habit every time I would get changed and forget to move my... I still do. It's a very hard habit to break. I don't know why. There are certain habits in my life that I have learned the wrong way too many times, and it's very difficult for me to change. I do a lot of computer programming, and one bad habit I get into is if I need to create two almost identical files, right? So I need to make a copy and then change a bunch of things. I always forget to make the copy, and so when I change things to make the second copy, I've lost the first one. Always. I cannot seem to correct that habit. When I went to buy my car, I'm driving a Mitsubishi Lancer, I made sure the gas cap is connected to the tank. I always lose my gas cap. It's just one of those things I learned the wrong way too many times, and it has become hard to correct. Funny thing is, I forgot the wallet when I was 18. I'm 33 and I still make that mistake. So what you learn in your childhood, if you learn the wrong way, you know, I do a lot of tutoring. I see so many of my students learn something wrong, and it is very hard to bend that needle back. And okay, so I forgot my wallet. I was 18 years old, and I get into a major hissy fit over that. And I knock over a few shelves, and I walk home. And when I got home, I noticed that we had a few phone messages on the answering machine, and the local police department had called our home. We live in a small town. I deleted the messages. I wanted to pretend nothing had happened, and but I never went back to that store again. And so after that, I had to walk to another grocery store quite a bit further than that first one. And when it would become very painful during the winter time, or when there was a heat stroke, it was a big lesson of what happened that first time. Actually, I didn't learn the lesson about the food. I learned the lesson to never forget my wallet again. And even that is getting hard to stick with me. Okay, I was 18 years old at the time. When I was 19 years old, I was going to the University of Pittsburgh, and I got into major problems getting my homework done because I would crave foods. Even to this day, I still have this problem. I have a hard time getting stuff done when I keep craving foods. I ended up not doing too well there, and so I transferred to Rochester Institute of Technology. As you guys, I've made quite a number of videos there. I didn't really get my first camera until I was at RIT. But I would get into a mess with people. Even when I was going to Pitt, I would, I didn't have too many friends growing up, and sometimes the rare occasion somebody would want to talk to me, I drive them away because I want to get to my food. That was a common occurrence for me. I really regret it now looking back. The first time I really ever got into a serious sticky situation with food was I was traveling in Taiwan, And my grandmother has this philosophy. You got to understand, she's 80, 85 years old. She would not let me eat before we would go out to dinner. See, that's not how I usually practice going out to dinner. I usually like to go out to a restaurant when I have like a half full stomach, because I know when I go out, especially to a new restaurant I've never been to, it can be challenging for me to find suitable foods. And I still want to have a good time socially if I can't find any suitable foods. But that's not how my grandmother operates. And so we go out. I'm starving, and the waiter makes a mistake. And now I'm just angry. And see, that would never have happened if I got to operate on my own accord. It just goes to show the more people there is, the more conflict there is, right? One of the reasons I think this year has been so happy for me is that I don't have to interact with so many people and have these little twists, right? Whatever makes me happy, minor, people get into all people's business all the time. I work at a tutoring center, and one day I had spent like 3 hours on the highway and went to that tutoring center, and I felt like I didn't get enough exercise that day. So I was standing at my desk, right? I was standing, and we had like 10 more minutes before the student would come. So I wanted to kind of do some exercises, and my boss was like, "Oh, you can have a seat." And I ignored him, and he looked at the seat until I sat down, and I quit that job. I felt like a slave after that incident. I got another job at another tutoring center, but the seat incident made me feel like a slave. Okay. Now, and then I got into the situation where I one day I was getting ready to get I believe it was a steak out of the refrigerator, and one of my roommates had stolen it, or I don't know if he intentionally stole it, but it was missing. I got into a big fight with that roommate, and long story short, I had to move. I lost the job over my food cravings. I had prepared some sausages, and it was regular mealtime, but my boss decided that would be a great time to round everybody up for something important, some policy changes or something like that. And I couldn't wait to get back to my desk to get back to the sausages, and he went on and on and on and on and on and on, and I can't remember what I said, but I said something that didn't come out correctly because I wasn't thinking about the meeting. I asked a question that almost made fun of something I shouldn't make fun of. And when I realized my mistake, I got even more defensive about it because I wasn't thinking straight. When I have these cravings and snack attacks, it clouds my judgment a lot. Okay. I was with my girlfriend in Manhattan one time when all I wanted to do was go out to look for a jar of pickles, if you can believe that. At 2 a.m, my girlfriend was so upset. She was in the mood, and all I wanted to do was go out to get food. I can't. You can't make this up. I mean, you couldn't make this in a movie. I had 2 incidents last year. I was working at Washington Technology University when one of the students came outside of my office hours. I had prepared a bag of popcorns. I was just about to dig in when he comes in. He's having trouble setting up his software, and I'm trying to rush him out the door. He senses that. He threatens to drop the course, and somehow I made it through that question. I was very upset, and when I looked at I look at student evaluations every year, but they're anonymous, right? But I had one bad one, and the others were pretty good. I still have that bad one that I hang up at my office as a reminder, although I haven't been to that office for 6 months now. but as a reminder of what can happen if my food cravings run out of control like that. I had an incident at the tutoring center as well, where I had 10 minutes just before class, because I had half an hour in between the university and that tutoring center. I went to Whole Foods to get my favorite lunch, and I had 10 minutes of heaven, and the student shows up early! And I'm trying to eat and tutor him at the same time. It doesn't go very well. I thought he would see my distress and voluntarily just say, oh, we still got like 7 more minutes. He didn't see it. I got so frustrated, and long story short, not long after that, he stopped coming to the center. I lost that student. I was traveling in China when this was in late 2018. I stayed in a hotel. It was only one night, just for a layover. And I walked to a wet market, and I'm just about to try some bat soup. Now, I'm just kidding. It was some other animal liver. And when I asked the vendor if he uses MSG, he gave me a really cryptic answer, and it made me uncomfortable. So I ended up not eating there. But I felt really, it ruined the spirit of the rest of the night. I really could have had a good time for that night in China, but the fact that I didn't get to eat what I was excited about kind of ruined the spirit. So you can see, I've had all sorts of trouble over the last 15 years. And so one of my New Year's resolutions was to normalize my relationship with food. It helps that I don't have to explain, interact with people about, oh, just try a bite, forget about fasting, you run it, just like my manager who treated me like a slave, have a seat. And I hate having to explain. I could have said to my manager, I've been on the road 3 hours today, I'd like to